In light of some recent constructive criticism, I'll be expanding and trying to show how I walk through these rankings even more. For some reason, all of you want me to get the scores right in a series based on scores. How dare you? So sometimes you guys have good comments that make sense, and I hear you. I hope actually these filter settings are a little better for some of you who don't have English as your first language. Sometimes you guys have less than stellar criticism. We'll skip over that. Here's a list of questions, though, I ask myself when I roll through these, so feel free to pause and hit the sub button in the corner when reading my awesome questions. I think about not just clear speed, but maybe the effective clear speed. Is there setup time to get a mob cleared? And I personally, I don't care about clear speed. I just like seeing mobs go pop, so if there's a setup time, like setting up decoys, that's not something I really care about. That's a bias of mine. Pots, do I need to use rejuves, or can I just run around with health potions? Faster hit recovery is something I really don't look at and probably should more, because I'm mostly a ranged and summoner player, so FHR is just not something that I ever really need to think about. I think about gearing in terms of, can I farm shards and make this class work, like on, I think you can on Corpse Explosion, because you're just buying things for cheap and corrupting them. And I also think about things like, hey, is this just fun to play? So remember, this is just my opinion, and if you think the playstyle is great for a class, you should probably just ignore all of the rankings and play what's fun to you. I'll try to keep damage scores as objective as possible, but playstyle is always going to be subjective to me, isn't it? And I can try, but my biases will bleed over, and it's my channel, so fuck you. So, Wapinator has sort of the same biases I do, and I think I can boil it down kind of crudely into, we care more about safety, feel, and fun more than we do about clear speed, and clear speed, which a lot of you do care about. But if you think that the damage is great on a class, the clear speed's going to be good. And if you like the playstyle, I think that's all you basically need to hear. So keep that in mind. So episode 8, the Hammerdin. I have 2 confessions to finish up the house cleaning. I have never really played Hammerdin, seriously. I mean, I made one in the level in Season 2, and I hated it. And I did build one in LOD briefly, but I hate how it aims, and that's just about it for me. I despise this class from a mechanical standpoint, now and before, and I despised this class also in LOD for its absolute game-breaking bullshit. But it was requested, and I'm still waiting on Wapinator to get his Season 4 Lightning Sword back to continue the series, so here we go. My second confession is, I am not that great of a player. I think some of you may have overrated me because I sometimes show up in the showcases with these crazy builds or something, or, you know, really I just have a decent amount of time to play it during nights once my kid goes to sleep, and I know how to farm because I read the patch notes. That's it. That's all you need to be effective and, you know, quote-unquote rich in gear in this game, and even my stuff, you see, it's nothing compared to some of these top-tier players. So if you're looking for people with really, really good mechanical skill, there are better options out there. You know, you can still stay sub here and we'll go over meme stuff, but I feel like some of you need to look around, because in my opinion, the best player in PD2 has less than 200 subs, and I think it's just a matter of people going out and finding them. So, let's get into this one. Hammerdin on single target. You do have to do the asinine positioning of Hammerdin, and I can already feel the tryhards who main this in LOD doing grail runs bitching, but it's a pain to position. If you go on autopilot, you'll cast hammers and wonder why nothing is dying because you're off by a pixel and your hammers keep missing. You know, that said, I ran around with a basic set of skill gear, and your hammers popped for about 12k. When I ran with a fully maxed out faster cast rate build, it was about 10k. And the damage is good enough to pretty much clear packs effectively, but man, I have got to say the single target was really underwhelming. I think just having that baseline damage and not having, you know, insane max is really hurting it. I want to show this Indio kill because he only has 20% magic resistance, which isn't a lot, and it just took a hot minute to get him down. I mean, there's no juice on this map at all. So single target is just not great. I think it's that top-end max that's really missing. 3 out of 10 here, because it is consistent, but it's just not great. So AoE, the Hammerdin is basically a melee at this point. You teleport into a pack, try to get a teleport Annie your staff, and you just spam away. And the clear speed and effectiveness is kind of dependent on the player moving from pack to pack effectively less than about the damage of the gear. It does have the benefit of what I call free AoE, like Corpse Explosion, where one cast of the skill just keeps going into everything, as opposed to multi-shot, where, you know, the damage decreases as it goes through things. But overall, it is pretty good AoE. It will clear decently fast. It has just enough damage to clear the packs, even if the single target is a little underwhelming. 7.5 here. So, Safety. I am counting this as melee since you have to be essentially right on top of bosses and packs to run it. You can sort of run it like the Nova Sork and sit on the edge, but that's not its really effective use of the class. It's a paladin still. So we're going to cap it at 6.5 and lower it for having no leech, basically needing rejuves to keep up that speed. It's weird because I'm going to rank safety sort of low, but it's safe in the sense that you don't take a lot of one-shots because of the amount of life and block that you have for being a paladin. It's more that you just need to pay attention to the rejuve slam to keep up the speed, which, is that safety? Is it not? I'm not really sure. But to me, having a class that needs rejuves to keep up its speed and deal with aura packs in a pinch, that's pretty average. 5 out of 10. So Ubers. Pluggy is still broken on Ubers, and I obviously don't have Hammerdin footage of me doing Ubers because I didn't play this shit in the regular season. So disclosure going forward, I'm just naming where I get info or material from. Everyone's gonna hate this video because it's just me bitching the whole time. But I get in trouble for associating people with this channel who hate me because I talk like an asshole, and I get in trouble for not giving credit sometimes when I don't. So I'm just gonna tell you exactly where I got it from and say fuck it. The only really decent Ubers video I found of Hammerdin was Cassiano G, who I think has the claim of being the best player in PD2 for getting hardcore declone down before softcore got it done. And he did it with what looked like a pretty budget Hammerdin, and he got Ubers done, but even he died once in the video, and that to me is saying something. You just don't have leech, you do have a decent enough health pool to not get one shot, but you're just chugging rejuves. And you need a really good merc to soak up damage and not die instantly, so that ain't good. Now, hammers have had some really good buffs since Season 1, which was the video that I watched, and your Conviction Aura had a slight buff, but most of your buffs to your hammers were AoE buffs. So I'll take that into account, but here's how I look at Uber rankings. This is going to be a potion chugger. It's going to need relatively decent skill to position your hammers, and you won't get clean connects if you're dodging Uber spam attacks. And just blah blah blah. It's a lot to consider. But there are gotta be better options for Ubers, even if it is technically doable. I'll give it a 2.5 just for the pally tankiness, but you know, seeing a very, very good, insanely good player get murked even on a budget build, like man, that's brutal. So gearing ease. Well, Hammerdin is pretty standard caster gear. There's nothing really special about wanting a Shaco or a faster cast rate peak skill helm or a Hodo. It's just, you know, peak homes are mid-tier expensive skillers. It's not really a knock or a benefit. You know, you can skip on like an Enigma and get like a teleport Ami, and so you can get FCR in your chest. The breakpoint is 125, which I think is very hard to hit without getting some sort of FCR corrupt somewhere. But it's just sort of average. I mean, there's nothing really crazy about it. There's Griswold's, which is a good intro set, and you can keep it for magic finding later, so I can give it some points on that, but it's really a 6 out of 10 on gearing ease. It's standard caster stuff. So, playstyle. This is going to go a lot like Whirlwind Barb, because I know XX Hammerbro 74 XX just positions with his monitor off, playing by the feel of his Braille keyboard. But can we just be honest for a second? Can you just jump into a pack and spam away? Sure. Can you knock down that pack as effectively as, say, Corpse Explosion or Multi-Shot? Not really. And is positioning required for the class to work? Yeah, absolutely. But is the positioning the hardest thing in the world to do? No. It's kind of like Whirlwind, in that I'm struggling between, do I find this personally annoying and therefore I'm not trying as I should be, or is it genuinely difficult? And I think here it's just annoying to me. So I'll give it a 4 out of 10. It gets knocked off for being a very position-based class, but it's not really difficult per se. I think it's just that it's annoying me. So that gives us a 4-6 repeating at a 10 score here. The class just doesn't do much well. I mean, let's be honest here. You only played Hammerdin in LOD because it was broken. It wasn't particularly fun to use, and that's why I never really played it. It's been brought back down to earth in PD2. It's just sort of a sort of below average class at this point. It's a B, B-. It brings some okay group utility because of Conviction being an odd man aura out, and the class does have the raw AoE and speed to clear maps, but it's just not the best at anything, and it's kind of below average on some things. So I will try to keep, remember, you put up the totals here, just remember with how we rank things, everything's going to be good at something. So really like a 3 is just terrible, an 8 is really, really good. So most things are going to fall, really out of a 10 scale, a 5.5 is really kind of like our average. Anything below that is sort of struggling, anything above that is doing pretty well. Even I think a 6 is like kind of an average class in my opinion, even though 5 is the average, you know, between 0 and 10. So, one last thing. One thing to consider with these, I'm ranking AoE in a way I don't want to. I would rank AoE as its ability to not just clear, but clear every map effectively. I do not like classes that have to say, you know, play Ancestral Trial on repeat, like Sorks do. And I'm not ranking that, because I'm the only one in the world who apparently cares about that. That was my argument for how I built Mabs back in the day, because, well, I wanted some physical damage from the Volks to be able to clear out the physical immunes and stuff on maps. That's just how I am. It's something you do need to consider when you're taking classes like this. Like, River of Blood with the Hammerdin is basically out because there are magic immunes on it, and you don't run into a lot of magic immunes in the base game. So that isn't ranked here. It's not considered here because I know I'm the only person in the world who really cares about that, but always take that into consideration too. All right, we will get back. Hopefully when the season reverts, Wapdator will be able to get the footage from his lightning sork, which is kind of GG'd out. It's a nice lightning sork. And that'll hopefully be the next one. I think I'm going to take a few days break from doing these and maybe try to expand on the rankings and try to get the scoring down a little more objectively, and we'll go from there. See you guys later.